Hello and welcome to the morning after show. My name is Joshua Reimer. As many of you know me as Roto Radar Reimer. And I'm excited, man. I hope I woke you guys up a little bit with screaming and shouting in your ear. And I'm ready to go. I'm pumped up. I'm ready for the morning after show to be back. It felt like there was a hole in my schedule for Saturday and Sunday not doing this show. And we have plenty to talk about, which is always going to be a lot of fun. I am joined by Jared Block. He is to my right or to my left. I'm not really sure. Whichever way it is for you guys. Jared, how are you doing? How was your Sunday and Saturday? And just how was the weekend for you in general, man?
Yeah, Saturday was great. Sunday night was great, but Sunday during the day was not very fun for me. I know that we were all very, very excited to kick off on the right foot. Josh did his job yesterday. I had a little bit of a mishap on my end, and a lot of my players fell short yesterday. But we're back. It's a new week, and the best thing about daily fantasy sports is that we can talk about something new every single day. And I'm ready to get after it today, though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's always the best thing about daily fantasy sports, right? It's the fact that you're going to you have that ability to come back. And so this is our ability. This is your ability to come back, man. I will say my content did extremely well, just like you said. Won the 1 p.m. only slate, won the 4 p.m. only slate. Think we went 3-1. I got to double check if we went one over on DraftKings for the early slate, but it was a really really solid day to start out the year for specialty slates. I don't know how Sean did, in all honesty. I know he was cooking with gas at the beginning of the day, and I don't know what that turned out to be at the end of the day. So, Jared, do you know how Sean did?
I know that he did pretty well with his Houston stack. That game took forever, by the way. We'll talk about that. That was one of the longest games on the slate. But yeah, he did pretty well. Not sure the output in the afternoon helped him at all. I think he fell a little bit short in tournaments, but still very, very good performance for his first week.
Yeah, for sure. It was kind of crazy to see that he got that Jamar Chase touchdown. Like I saw that and I was like, this fucking guy. This of course this guy gets the Jamar Chase touchdown after we shit on the Bengals all week. Anything else you want to touch on from the weekend? If not, we've got plenty to talk about. I really don't got to try to fill time because I'm sure we're going to be talking a ton about NFL. College football was really interesting. Your Brewers made waves in the MLB industry this week, and there's a little fun video that we have too. So it'll be a good time. But anything else you want to recap from the weekend? And if not, we're gonna keep going.
Yeah, no, I mean football. Let's recap it. We got to talk about week one. Talk about a lot of stuff that happened. A lot of weird games in the NFL this week.
Lots of weird games. Just want to catch up with the chat. A Rock says, yo, what's up? Bacon0 or Bacon23 says, good morning, guys. Good morning. How are you doing? Jarhead said, what's up, old man here? Look, you might be an old man, but you're not as old as Sean. So I'll just say that. JQ said, Josh, still can't believe your Niners let the Lions cover that spread. Lame, lol. Yeah, we're going to be talking about the Lions and we're going to talk about everything NFL because there are so many things that I could talk about for what week one and what happened yesterday. Like yesterday was a really fun slate. Even with my Niners kind of failing against the Lions, they still looked good in parts. Bodine says, yo, what's up, chat? A-Rock says, what's up, y'all? Life of Goosey says, yo, yo, yo. Yeah, let's get into this damn thing and let's kick it off with, like we said, the NFL. There's so much to talk about with the NFL, right? I
Yep.
want to
Yep.
start off on something. I don't know. I don't know if this should be a starting point, but I think it is interesting to talk about. We did find out the news yesterday that Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured in that Chargers game.
Yeah.
Not only did he get injured, but that looks like it's going to be a serious hip injury. What
Yep.
does Washington do here, Jared? Do they stick with Taylor Heineke? I know he did well throughout last season, or do you think they might go to someone like Cam Newton, who is still a free agent right now?
Yeah, I think the rumbling starts with Cam Newton, right? I think that that's already kind of been put out on the internet as a feeler. I'm sure that they started addressing that situation last night. I wouldn't be surprised to hear that news in the next 24 hours, but obviously Cam's not going to be good to go today or this week. So, yeah, Washington has an interesting decision to make. They could keep it in house, but I'm not sure. I mean, like, look, Taylor Heineke he stepped up yesterday, and I know that they didn't win the game, but he looked impressive, especially on that. We'll talk about the Terry catch here in a little bit, but he didn't look terrible. I will say that. So he also stepped up last season when he had to face the Bucks in the playoffs. and he was able to step up there too. So Washington, I'm not really sure what they're going to do necessarily. But at the end of the day, I mean, I think that they're going to ride with Heineke for as long as they can. They do have an interesting. They have kind of have this week to figure this out because it's a short week. They're playing the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football. So obviously, this is going to have to be a week 3 type of thing where they face the Bills if they want to bring in Cam Newton to figure that out. But for the time being, I think that they're going to stick with Taylor Heineke and roll this thing out.
Yeah, I mean, we saw that Heineke was good enough last year, right? I mean, Jay Kush, said stick with Heineke, see what you got with him. They kind of
Yep.
already know what they have with him, right? We saw him a ton last season, and I think he's going to do just fine. Not to mention, like you said, he looked good. Like, he actually got Terry McLaurin involved in the game plan, which we didn't see
Yep.
Fitzpatrick do too much throughout that first couple of series. If that catch by Terry was insane. Just talk about that for a second. For those who didn't see it, I wish I had the video pulled up. Maybe I'll try to get the video pulled up for tomorrow. But that catch by that over the shoulder, just amazing grab by Terry. I don't think it's catch of the year like everyone else is saying. I think everyone got a little over dramatic, but it was a crazy catch for sure.
Yeah, it was. I think it was more of a just the probability of him making that catch was just insane, just due to where the defender was, and I'm sure those defenders looking at himself like, how did I not touch the ball at all here?
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, they looked really good. That's actually one of the games that I didn't watch as much. I watched the end of it just because of the drama that was around that one, but it was obviously for me. I called it a complete stay away on the Thursday show and ended up having that kind of feel to it. So outside of the Fitzpatrick injury and that McLaurin catch, there really wasn't much to talk about. Gibson did fumble late, but the Chargers had like just again the little bit of an edge on offense, and that's what kind of propelled them to victory.
Yeah, for sure. Next thing we're going to talk about Chandler Jones, 5 sacks. The man wants to get paid. That's the big thing, right? Is that the Cardinals gave him the ability to go seek a trade because they weren't willing to pay him. Now he had 5 sacks in week 1.
Yeah.
Do you pay him, man? Like, do you just say, "All right, here you go, dude. Like, here's your money. Just take it and keep doing what you did on Sunday because that's what we need."
Yeah. Yeah, I think that he proved his point, right?
Yeah.
I think that he made his presence clear. The Arizona Cardinals defense, for what I thought, like we always respected Chandler Jones, but honestly, haven't seen much of the other parts of the team step up too much. They looked really good with having J.J. Watt involved in the defense. Baker looked good. Byron Murphy was playing excellent. So I think Cardinals team has the ability to take that step forward, and they're going to have to because you could argue that they're the worst defense in the NFC West. We saw what the Rams did last night. We'll talk about what that meant for Sunday Night Football. But yeah, they looked good. Tennessee's offense only got 13 points at home. Like, you don't see that. So I'm impressed with how that went yesterday.
Speaking of Tennessee's offense, we're talking about them next, talking about Tannehill, talking about the group. I watched nearly the whole entire game. You know how much GPP interest I had in that one. I was
Yep.
very much invested in that game. And man, did it not go well for me, at least from the Tennessee side. Like, D Hop did his thing. I think I had D Hop in almost every single one of my GBP lineups after we talked about that correlation of DeAndre
Yep.
Hopkins and Derrick Henry. The Derrick Henry side didn't do well, but I had D Hop everywhere, and that went great. But like that offense for the Titans, I don't know what to think here. I don't know if this was something that like because Tannehill was on the COVID IR, they didn't get enough time to practice or like they didn't get enough time to mesh. I mean, the announcers were even talking about it. I remember this conversation very clearly. Them just saying, yeah, it seems like Tannehill and Julio are just completely off rhythm. Like they don't look like they're at all on the same page. What do you think is in store? This shouldn't be something that we see every weekend, right? Uh-oh. We might have lost Jared. Jared's dealing with a little storm in his area, and I was telling him before the show, don't leave me alone on the morning after show. That's perfectly fine. I'll talk about Tannehill. I'll say that I don't think this is a permanent thing. Yeah, Jay Cruz, I agree. Jared needs to move. Biggie dealt with the sub. Thank you, man. 13 fucking months. Let's go, baby. Kai, good morning. How are you doing? Yeah, No Jared for right now, so I'll just say that this Titans offense isn't always going to look this bad, right? Like, they are going to look better. I think that the announcers did a phenomenal job in just saying that, hey, this is going to be a spot where we struggle, or the announcers did a good job of saying the fact that, this team needs time to meld, obviously. This team still needs time to mesh. So I think we see it sooner rather than later. I don't think it'll take a super long time for this team to get back together, but it's certainly going to be interesting to see if they can get it back together. If Tannehill can look like that guy that he looked like last year, which was top 10 QB status. I see more 91. Thanks for being here, man. Arthur Smith's departure doesn't make that big of an impact, right? I don't think so. Kai Berry said the O-line looked like trash. Taylor was outmanned. Yeah, the O-line did look bad, but I will say that Cardinals have a really good D-line too, so it might not be something where that O-line is actually bad, but it might be something to where, they the Cardinals had Chandler Jones and J.J. Watt. What are you going to do about it? All right. I don't see anything else in the chat, and I think Jared is still trying to connect. So I want to talk about, or maybe you're back. Jared, are you here? Oh no, Jared's still not here. This is no bueno. Hopefully Jared can get things fixed. No, he's dealing with a lot of weather. He was telling me that thank goodness for our software that it takes out background noise, because he was saying how the storm was blowing in his window and stuff, and it was really bad. Kai said scheme was the kept leaving Chandler on an island. However, yeah, scheme wise they kept leaving Chandler on an island. However, yeah, I understand that. I don't know. I think that team is going to look better at some point. We'll see when that is. All right. Other segments that we wanted to talk about for the NFL. I really wanted to talk about, and I'm sad that I'm not going to get Jared's opinion here, but rookie QB debuts. We saw every single rookie that was drafted in the first round in some regard yesterday, right? We saw Trey Lance, even if it was for just a few plays. We saw, I'm trying to think of all the names. Zach Wilson in that Jets start. We saw Trevor Lawrence threw 3 picks, also had 3 touchdowns. We saw Mack Jones ended up losing against the Dolphins, and we saw Justin Fields end up scoring a touchdown last night. I was really excited to ask Jared, who did the best? Who do you think looked the best in week 1? Because I truly don't know. I think you can honestly say a lot of these guys looked really good. Jay Kusa, thoughts on Eckler? Looked really good against that WFT front 7. Yeah, I agree. Eckler did look really good against that WFT front 7, or at least better than I expected him to look. Kai Berry said, yeah, no panic buttons week 1. Mack Jones. Yeah, I think Mack Jones looked really good. I think you can make the case that, even though Trevor Lawrence did throw those 3 picks, he did struggle a little bit as well. Bacon, I guess you can add Teddy B. You can add Teddy Bridgewater to the grouping of QBs that debuted. I mean, technically he didn't debut, but he debuted for a new team. He looked good. Denver looked good. Denver looked about as good as I expected them to look. That Giants team is nothing to write home about. So, I definitely think that they looked good enough. Kai Berry said, thoughts on reporters at a Jax and how Urban is losing it and people hate working for him already. Not surprised. I guess that would be my reaction to that. I mean, this whole experiment with Urban Meyer is going to go extremely interesting out of Jacksonville. Jared, please tell me we have you back.
I think I'm here.
Okay.
I think I'm here.
Okay. We'll see how long this one lasts, but hopefully it's more than the 15 minutes that you lasted after hardwiring last time. Give me your thoughts on this Titans offense. That's where we left off. Do you think they rebound? Is this something we can expect every week of the season?
Yeah, I was going to say when Chester Rogers is your leading receiver and when you have A.J. Brown and Julio Jones on the roster, it's never a good thing. When you have a combined 7 receptions from A.J. Brown and Julio Jones, that's never a good thing either. I think they'll get it figured out. Obviously, their game plan did not work. They gave the ball to Henry 17 times, but he only managed to get 3.4 yards per carry, which is not something that this offense was planning on doing. And I don't know, they just didn't look in sync at all. I think Chandler Jones really did, obviously not every single play, but he impacted the game tremendously. And I think that the biggest thing out of all of this is when Tennessee gets down by more than, uh, I don't know, 10 points. I think that's a little, 14, I'd say. They start to unravel and their game plan starts to fall apart. I don't think it's the Arthur Smith departure. I think it's more so just the key players that they have and the offense that they run. In the first, at the end of the first half, it was 24-6. They can't run the ball with Derrick Henry as effectively in that situation. They always have to, when they're in negative game scripts, the Tennessee Titans just aren't good enough to make that and switch it up. We saw that in the playoffs 2 years ago. We saw it last year, and we saw it yesterday. So I think that they kind of have to take a hard look and say, hey, I mean, like they can't. So when they get down that bad, they can't just be like, all right, the game's over. We can't do anything. They have to seriously figure out how to make that work, and I'm just interested to see how it works out for them.
Definitely interested to see how it works out. I think you will see improvements. I think this team needed more time to mesh. I think they didn't get that time because of a lot of these guys landing on COVID IR. But excited to see if they can pick it up next week, especially because it's the hometown team. I gotta root for them at least a little bit. All right. Other thing that I was covering after you left was the rookie debuts that we had for all the QBs. We saw each of the QBs that were taken in the first round play yesterday in some regard, whether it be limited snaps or in a full game. We saw Trevor Lawrence throw 3 touchdowns, also threw 3 interceptions against the defense that we called one of the worst defense in all of football. You saw Zach Wilson struggle a little bit to get things going. Things picked up in the second half, but for the most part, we saw a little bit of a struggle. Mack Jones looked competent. I like the throws he made, but still lost against the Dolphins. And then we saw Trey Lance scored a touchdown with his first pass that he threw in the NFL. We saw Justin Fields have a run where he scored a touchdown in the Sunday night game. What are you thinking? Who had the best debut and who had the worst debut?
Yeah, so I think the worst debut, and it's hard to, I don't want to slander the guy and smash the guy, but Zach Wilson looked rough coming out of that first half. Probably just some jitters, probably just the speed of the game. You can't get that speed in the preseason, so he had his first real taste of things, and I think that Carolina's defense is, a league average, and as so, they definitely showed that, this is what the NFL is like, figure it out. So Mac Jones, on the other hand, he threw a lot more than I thought he was going to. A lot of that was because the game was close at the end, but 39 pass attempts, it's very solid for a first game for that guy. So I think that Mac Jones had the best just because of the amount of time that he played, as well as the ability that he was put in a situation where New England was down by less than a touchdown, so it was crunch time. I think that he handled it very well, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. But I think that you can feel pretty confident for Mac Jones in this spot.
Yeah, he looked really good. I really liked what I saw from Mac. I liked the little bit that I saw from Trey Lance. I guess I'm going a little homer here, but like watching him, seeing him, the fact that he got snaps on day one completely shocked me. I had to take that. I wouldn't be surprised if he sat on the bench the whole season, but they put him in there. He had that touchdown pass to Trent Sherfield. And yeah, I mean, even in running schemes, I thought, not a lot got started for him, but he did look good. He looked good enough to get down quickly and try not to get injured. So I thought it was a solid showing from Trey Lance. I really don't think, I know Wilson had a bad start, but like I said, he got things cooking in the second half, at least a little bit. I don't know. I don't think any of these rookies had an awful start for their first start in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that they had necessarily bad starts either. The one thing that interested me the most was that they were these teams that didn't necessarily have their rookies starting. They were creating packages for for the rookies, and you saw that with Fields last night. You saw it with Lance earlier in the afternoon. I'm interested to see what they do with that moving forward, and maybe we don't see the benching of the starters right now. Like we don't see the complete overhaul. Maybe we just see package and package here, package there. So I think that that's probably the way that this goes for a little bit until the coaches know that they're ready to switch things over. I think that everybody knows that at some point Andy Dalton's going to get benched and Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get benched. But again, we don't necessarily know because the Niners won last night, and as long as they keep winning, I think that Jimmy G keeps his job. So I guess the one guy we didn't talk about was Trevor Lawrence. And he, obviously played Houston. I think he played well down the stretch. early he looked bad. You could see the jitters come to him for one of like the worst defenses in the league, but still put up 21 points, 51 pass attempts for Lawrence. Josh, while he did throw for over 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, he still threw 3 picks against a not so good defense. So I think the speed of the game is what got these guys early this week in week one.
For sure. And, in all honesty, I'd rather see you throw 3 picks and 3 touchdowns than not to see you throw anything at all. At least I know you're trying out there and you're throwing those dangerous passes to try to get those touchdowns and try to score. And it was kind of just the game script that he was left in. Honestly, out of any of the QBs, he was probably in the best game script and in the best environment. So I wasn't surprised to see those 3 touchdowns. A little bit surprised to see those interceptions. I think they're honestly just rookie mistakes, right? Like I know
Yep.
it sounds kind of cliche, but rookie mistakes that he made to throw those interceptions, and I mean it just proves what yesterday proved to me from this Jacksonville front is all preseason we've been talking about. Oh, the play calling's rough. It doesn't seem like it's gonna work. The play calling seems vanilla. Is this something that they're just doing in the preseason, or is this something that's going to translate over to the regular season? I think we clearly saw yesterday that it's going to translate over to the regular season and that the play calling is just not very good there.
Yeah, you can sort of see the I don't know. I think I agree. I agree with you in that sense, and I also think it has a lot to do with Lawrence and Urban's first year. And I don't know. I know he's been coaching for a long time, but again, the speed is different here. The athletes are much stronger. They're much bigger. It's a different game. It's not college football, and I think both Urban and Trevor are experiencing that right now.
Yeah, last rookie debut that I want to talk about, and it kind of translates over to the other thing I want to talk about for the NFL. I want to talk about that Steelers and Bills game because it was a really good game. In all honesty, I enjoyed watching it. I know the both of us didn't enjoy watching it for DFS purposes because it seemed like
Yeah.
Josh Allen couldn't get anything started yesterday. But at least from a football fan perspective, I had a lot of fun watching it. That defense looked just as good as before. We saw 4 forced fumbles from that defense. We also saw a touchdown, a punt block that got returned, and we also saw Najee Harris, who I think that was the bad side of that Steelers win because man, I don't know if it was we were talking about it in the chat yesterday, the season pass chat with NFL members. I don't know if it was the O line that made him look bad. I don't know if he was scared to get hit. I don't know if he was trying to be too patient almost. Maybe the Le'Veon Bell talks got in his head and he thought, all right, I have to be super patient just like Le'Veon Bell was, and maybe I can be just as good as him. Or like something in that regard, but things did not look good for Najee Harris yesterday.
No, they didn't at all. And the touch count was a little bit lower than I thought he was going to get. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that the game was, I don't know, they were down at the end of the half, 10-0. Got a little bit of speed underneath them, but they resorted back to this pass first offense, which is not something that I thought was going to happen. I thought they specifically got Najee Harris. Ownership forced their hand. They said, "Hey, we need a guy who we can depend on the ground," and they didn't really show that. 16 carries for 45 yards, just not good. I mean, maybe a little bit of credit to the Bills' defense here on that one, but at the end of the day, man, you got to feed your guy, and I don't think that they did that. I think that they kind of abandoned they won the game, but they abandoned their play script early. I think their defense showed up, and that's the reason they won. But I'm concerned about this offense, especially when Ben throws for under 200 yards off of 32 attempts.
Yeah, seriously, it did not. Even the passing game didn't look that good yesterday. I mean, I saw Ben make some throws that I liked, but there was also some throws where I was like, "Whoa, what are you doing there, pal?"
Yeah.
So it just, I don't know. That offense is going to be a concern all season long. I think. Thank goodness for that defense because if they didn't have that defense, they would have probably definitely
Right.
lost. And I just don't know if I believe in that Bills front seven, and maybe it's just that O line for the Steelers is just that bad right now. But like, I don't think that Bills front seven is something to be concerned about. I think that secondary is a little bit better than the front seven, so I'm surprised they went to the passing game. But I just thought that maybe it's just week one jitters for Najee. Maybe he was a little scared to get hit by the big boys, but we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see what comes of that. Kai Berry said it will level out. The Pittsburgh offense didn't concern me. Hey, to each their own, man. To each their own. All right, next thing I want to talk about from this NFL weekend was the 49ers. There's a lot of interesting facts with the 49ers Lions game. I think it all kind of shocked us. It looked like it was going according to plan throughout the first half, and then the Lions roared back, man. The Lions, Jared
Right.
Goff did not look as bad as I thought he would. Is this the fact that the 49ers maybe just said, all right, we're up. I don't even remember the score. 31-10 at half was the halftime score, but they got up a little
Yeah.
bit more after that. Was it just the fact that, like, hey, we're already ahead. We're going to take some plays off now. We're not going to worry too much. Or was it the fact that, maybe this Lions team is something that we can't count out? Oh, no. We lost him again. And on the best segment of the show where we get to talk about the Niners. Kai said they hadn't played together in a green atmosphere in 7 to 8 months, at least 7. Yeah, I mean, you have a point, but like they've had all preseason to play together. Every team's been like that, and we saw plenty of offenses look better in that 7 to 8 month period, or look better since that 7 to 8 month period. D-Ram Fight said 49ers defense folded. Yeah, like I agree with you in a certain respect, but I also will say that I'm not sure exactly. I'm not sure whether they folded, or I'm not sure whether this is a team that kind of just said, "All right, we're up by so much. Let's throw in the towel a little bit. Let's relax. Let's try not to get injured." Even with them trying not to get injured, we still saw injuries. Most importantly, that team losing Jason Verrett, their cornerback, to an ACL injury. It's man, it's just tough. It's tough to see all these injuries. We did have a ton of injuries yesterday, but that Jason Verrett one hit home. I know the Niners already said they're looking into options to get another corner on the free agent market. I know they said Richard Sherman is a potential option for them, and there's a few other guys that they could be interested in. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what that Niners team could do against a better team. This week, Kai, I know you're excited for this. They face off against the Eagles, so I'm sure me and Kai are going to have a little bit of fun about that game because both of our teams play each other. But yeah, I want to see what this Niners team can do in another week. I think that the Lions game, they looked really, really good in the first half, but it's going to be interesting to see. Sherman back to SF. Yeah, I could totally see Sherman back. I actually think it's likely we see Sherman back, in all honesty. I would not be surprised whatsoever. He has a good relationship with Shanahan. He has a good relationship with the ownership as well. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. Kai said bring on the water bets. I don't know what the water bets are, but I'm scared. All right, talking about some other things, we'll get Jared's thoughts on that Niners game once he is back, which I think he is coming back shortly. It looks like he's trying to load in right now. But yeah, I just want to talk about, I was going to say here, anything else surprise you about the weekend, but we don't have that opportunity to say that because Jared's not here. Rookie QB debuts, Fitzpatrick injury. Yeah, we kind of covered everything that I had in store. I guess I could talk about the Eagles a little bit. Like Kai's here, I'm sure he wants me to talk about the Eagles a little bit. I don't know what to say. Jalen Hurts looked good, right? Like Jalen Hurts looked really good. Jalen Hurts looked like he's going to take that next step that we were all so excited for, or that I was excited for, Jared is excited for. It looks like that's going to come true. So I'm really excited to see what happens. He looked good on the ground when he was running the ball. He looked a lot better throwing the ball than he did last season. I just think everything checked out. The wide receivers looked good. Devontae Smith looked like a beast, man. Like, Jake Hughes said, let's calm down, Kai. It's Atlanta's D. Atlanta's defense is not half bad, man. I think they got absolutely toasted yesterday, but like, it's not as bad as we thought it was. All right, I don't think it's as bad as you think it is. KB Pitt said, ha. I don't know what that means, but ha to you too. Boding says he looked very good, and I hate it. Kai said the backfield. Yeah, man, I'm a big Kenneth Gainwell trooper. Comes from Memphis. Those Memphis backs, man, they've been doing their damn thing in the NFL, including Antonio Gibson is the main one that I like to point out when people say, oh yeah, who came from Memphis? I think that, Kenneth Gainwell could be the truth. Kai Berry said really doesn't play defense. We shut him down. I don't know. This is going to be interesting to talk about because I know it's kind of a bad, I don't want to bring it up in Jared's head, but like the Ridley thing, was it the Eagles shutting him down or was it poor play calling by the Falcons? I'm not sure which one to land with. So, hopefully we get Jared back here soon. I wanted to talk more NFL with him, but it's hard when we're losing him every 15 minutes. But hopefully we get him back here soon. All right, maybe we'll touch back on NFL, but until then, let's move on into the next segment, which is going to be college football. Man, I just love that we have football back in our lives, and just all of it on Saturday and Sunday. It was great to watch college football. It was a great time to, you know, there was a lot of good games. And the number one game I want to talk about, one that was tilting for members, but a lot of fun to watch because I am just a tiny bit of an Oregon fan, is this Ohio State game where they faced off against the Oregon Ducks. Oregon ended up smacking them. It was a bad game for Ohio State. They looked rough throughout the whole first quarter. They looked rough throughout the whole first three quarters. And man, I don't know what to think about this game. I don't know what to think about their play calling. I mean, we brought play calling up a ton today, but the play calling for Ohio State looked awful, man. It looked absolutely terrible. You need to let your QB go in there and get his shots. And he just was not allowed to get his shots thrown all day long. It was really rough for CJ Stroud. It was rough for that offense. They didn't really look like they could run the ball that well. I don't know what to think about this team. It's going to be interesting to see what they can do in a long-term perspective. But yeah, I think Oregon's the real deal. I think Oregon was looking ahead after Fresno, and now that they weren't looking ahead, or they were to that looking ahead game against Ohio State, that team looked really good. And that team looked really good with like a lot of their star players injured too. They didn't have their best defensive piece in Kayvon Thibodeau. And Thibodeau's going to be a beast all season long. So hopefully he gets healthy soon for that Ducks team, because I think that Ducks team could potentially be a really good squad this year. That brings us to the Pac-12. We've seen the Pac-12 now upset the Big Ten. We've seen the Pac-12 now upset the SEC. And we're seeing really impressive things, not only from Oregon, but also from UCLA as well. I don't know, man. It's going to be interesting to see who comes out of the Pac-12, and I think this division might be getting underrated. I saw in the chat someone was saying, like, oh, Pac-12 football, it's so good, like, don't count it out. And someone else is like, Pac-12 football, what are you even talking about? Yeah, that's what we're talking about with Pac-12 football. They looked good this Saturday, and they looked good all season, in all honesty. All right, next thing I want to talk about college football. Texas goes down to unranked Arkansas. It was just a matter of time, guys, right? Like, don't fool yourself. We know this is Texas. We know they like to disappoint, and Texas is good at Texas, man. That's what it came down to. And I even had a bet on Texas -7 this week. You know, full transparency. That bet ended up losing. Still had a really good betting weekend this week on the college football side of things. But all I could think of as I watched Texas get absolutely schmacked by Arkansas is that Texas is good at Texas, and Texas certainly did Texas this past Saturday. It looked rough. They got beat, and they got beat bad. I think throughout the whole entire game they were losing that game. So it was just a rough start for Texas, and it's going to be interesting to see how much they fall down the rankings, which come out either this afternoon or tomorrow afternoon. We'll see. Kai said Oregon is 10 times more physical than UCLA. Hey, if Oregon gets the game going with running the ball, then they can do just about damn anything. When they run the ball, they look really, really good. So, Jared said, my internet is literally not working. Thunderstorms knocked out my power, and I can hear Josh, but you can't hear me at all. Going to keep trying, but I'm hardwired in and resetting the router. All right, so we could be out of commission on Jared's side. That's okay. We'll keep the show rolling for you guys, and I'll fly solo for 30 minutes, 25 minutes now. I've certainly done worse. In the chat, Kai says Boomer Sooner. Yeah, sure. Bodine says in Fresno hung in there with Oregon is what's crazy. FS at UCLA will be a great game. Bodine, I'm not going to say you're a little bit of a homer, man, but you're a little bit of a homer. I don't think that Fresno State hangs around with Oregon if Oregon isn't having a look-ahead spot to Ohio. I think that's probably the reason that Fresno hung in there against Oregon. But who knows? We'll see. I think against UCLA, it'll be a real test to see which team is going to end up being better. All right, let's move on to our next segment, which is going to be talking a little bit about MLB that we saw over the weekend. Don't even try to talk about my New York Yankees. But Jared, can we talk about your Brewers, man? Your Brewers threw a combined no-hitter. Corbin Burns went 8 innings. Josh Hader finishing it off. I know you got the chance to watch that one with some friends and family. What do you think about your Brewers being able to complete the no-no against the Indians?
Yeah, I want to get this taken before I get disconnected again. So, yeah, it was cool to see. There was a little bit of, uh, we were very excited. We were also kind of shocked that I don't know if it was Burns or if it was Council or if it was a mutual decision about taking him out after he had thrown 8 complete innings. But yeah, no, it felt great. It was the team's first multi-pitcher no hitter, and then the second in total no hitter since I think 1982 was the last one. So waited a very long time to see that again. It just proves again that I think this is the third time, maybe the fourth time that Cleveland's been no hit this season. That team is very bad, but I love where that team stands this week.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to see this Cleveland team. You know, some games that they put up just like an insane amount of runs, and then other games it's bad news bears for that team, and that's what it was on Saturday. At least it was bad news bears for sure. Any other thoughts on MLB this weekend? Not sure how much of a chance you got to check it out. Blue Jays ended up scoring 40 runs in 24 hours against the Baltimore Orioles. Like 40 real life runs. Absolutely insane to see what this Blue Jays team is doing.
Yeah, that's wild. I actually did not know that because, as you know, and as everybody else that's watching this knows, I was fully concentrated on football. I saw you touch on the Oregon game. That's the only other game I watched that wasn't the NFL this weekend. So I was very concentrated on that. Insane to see that Blue Jays run, and just like that, Josh, we're talking again about the last 10 stat, 9-1 in their last 10 games, 80-63. They now have that or the first wild card spot, if I'm reading this correctly, above the Red Sox.
Yeah, I want to bang my head against the wall whenever I talk about the last 10 stats in the
Yeah.
AL East. So I'm not even going to comment. I'm going to try to stay far, far away from my Yankees and talking about the AL East as long as I can because I know I'm going to have to do it on the MLB podcast regardless. Really quickly, I want to go back a little bit, get your thoughts, especially because I know you were able to watch that Oregon game. What do you think about Ohio State? What was the problem? Was it the defense? Was it the front seven? Was it the play calling on offense? I think it might have been a combination of all three, but what do you think was the main problem for Ohio State?
Yeah, I think a lot of it was what you said. I think it was a combination of a lot of things, but for me, it was just they did have a better fourth quarter, but they just couldn't keep up when it mattered. I think that they like to control the game. We saw it. Maybe this is a little bit of a trend moving forward because they struggled against Minnesota until that second half spark came in. I don't know if that second half spark's always going to be there for them. They did score 21 points in the second half this week, but man, yeah, Oregon came to play. And I think Reggie Bush said this right before the game started. He said, I like Oregon here. He wasn't going to bet him. He couldn't back him that far, but he said, I like Oregon. Like there's, 70,000 plus people that are all Ohio State cheering on their team. And this is like the time that you have to, especially with your two key defensive players down, to step up and make things happen. And they did. They didn't shy away from the moment. And I think that the Buckeyes kind of did.
Yeah, the Buckeyes definitely shied away from the moment. More importantly, like I just can't get behind. I can't emphasize enough the play calling for CJ was absolutely horrendous for 3 quarters. I think it did end up getting a little bit better at the end in the fourth quarter where they were actually letting him take a shot. But like if you're down by double digits, please throw the ball. Please throw the ball and please don't run the ball for 3 straight downs. Like I'm just talking to every offensive coordinator out there. Please throw the ball. And especially when you have this very talented rookie or freshman on your roster in CJ Stroud, and you have the best wide receiver room in all of football right now. Their wide receiver 3 would be a wide receiver 1 on a few teams that I can think of the top of my head. Like, you have the best wide receiver room in all of college football, and you were like, all right, let's throw short routes. Like, come on, man. You gotta play. You gotta have better play calling, and I think that was a huge problem for this OSU team. Kai said defensive play calling for OSU was atrocious. I agree. I think on both sides it was bad. I don't think the offensive side was good, and I certainly don't think the defensive side was good, especially considering that most of the rushing touchdowns came off of that same play, that same stretch to the left. It was literally the exact same play, like 3 or 4 straight times. So I don't know. We'll have to see if OSU gets better in that regard. But regardless, let's move on to the next segment, which is Flag on the Play. We get to talk about some interesting things, some things that surprised us, whether it be chalky players busting or players that were not very chalky end up smashing. What surprised you? Let's start off with NFL. What surprised you from this weekend?
Yeah, I think the first thing that stands out is that Bills passing offense. To me, I was Josh Allen still threw the ball 50 times, but they just didn't move it the way that I thought that they would. I understand that Pittsburgh's defense is very good, but they were missing some really key players and traded for some players that just didn't make sense for their scheme to me. So that was the first thing. I think Josh Allen underwhelmed and disappointed a lot of people. Najee Harris would be the second one on the other side. And then third, I think Dalvin Cook and this Minnesota offense is definitely concerning. They showed up late in the game, but they started out really rocky. And I give it credit to the Cincinnati Bengals defense for putting up for as long as they did. I know they ended up giving 24 points away, but I think that they played all right. Dalvin Cook was just not like he got in the end zone late and kind of saved his day from a fantasy perspective, but they just did not look good. I don't know if it's the lack of weapons there, but they have three studs, so I really don't know. But it'll be interesting to see what happens with Minnesota moving forward. I'm sure they're just fine, but they started out slow yesterday.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of things that surprised me. Number one being that offense for Cincinnati did not look like they lost a step whatsoever. That team looked good on offense. I think that it's kind of hard not to look good on offense when your wide receivers are playing that well. And I guess Jamar Chase decided to see the ball on his 3 catches that he caught, including that 50-yard bomb that he got as well. It was just really impressive to see that offense do what they did. I don't know if that's in regards to the Vikings secondary being absolutely awful or the Vikings needing a little bit more time to everything mesh together on defense, but Bengals looked really good. I was thoroughly surprised. I will also say I've already said this, but I was thoroughly surprised by what the Lions were able to do. This was the 49ers team that last season hadn't given up more than 50 yards to a tight end and only gave up 4 touchdowns. Yet TJ Hawkinson looked amazing, and maybe that's just to speak to TJ Hawkinson has the potential to be that 4th guy alongside Darren Waller, George Kittle, and Travis Kelce. It looked really good for TJ Hawkinson. And honestly, it was brought up in the chat. I think Jay Coos made a great point. Deandre Swift also looked really good. I was expecting him to have a bad week last week. All the talk around the preseason was, oh, this guy is injured. Watch out. Who knows what he'll look like week 1. He looked really good. He did look really good. So that Lions team certainly impressed me, and it'll be something to watch out for that Lions team for the rest of the season. Anything else that you want to touch on with Flag on the Play? If not, we're going to keep on moving.
Yeah, 2 things probably. First thing is that Joe Mixon looked really good. I think he's back 29 rushing attempts. I think that's the most on the board out of any team this week. So we'll cover that later this afternoon. But yeah, the Falcons scoring 6 points. I don't know if it's. I mean, I know that the Eagles made some improvements in the offseason, but man, 6 points with this offense, with the weapons that they have, just not good. That was rough to watch. They couldn't do anything with the ball. They couldn't. They had their time of possession was just so low, and Matt Ryan just looked awful in the 4th quarter and down the stretch in the second half. Threw the ball 35 times for 164 yards. They had a really good game plan coming into the game, and they just didn't do anything with it in the second half at all. Yeah, just really disappointing to see, especially because we were so high on some of these players like Calvin Ridley, like Kyle Pitts, even Mike Davis underperformed. So, yeah, I don't know. It was rough to watch.
Speaking of rough to watch, man, I'm going to hate doing this to you. We got to talk about the Packers really quick. I meant to talk about them in the NFL segment. Wasn't able to because you left, and I definitely want you to be here for this one. Aaron Rodgers looked rough, man. Aaron Rodgers looked really rough against the Saints secondary that we said. I didn't think it was going to be that good. They looked good. They shadowed Adams really well. They did a really good job at containing Tanyan. Like, that defense looked good for the Saints. The offense looked even better for the Saints. I think it's kind of insane the fact that Jameis Winston threw for 5 touchdowns, but he only had 140 yards. So certainly interesting to see from Winston. I want to hear your takeaway from that game as a fan and just as someone who enjoys the NFL as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's really honestly, I have no words really to describe it because I can't wrap my head around why the offense was as bad as it was. And people are gonna come out and talk all week about how Rodgers is a diva and like he didn't show up to play, he didn't show up to the things that he was supposed to show up to in the off season. Um, maybe those things are true. Maybe he's just not quite ready. But from all the reports that I've seen, and from things that he's even said, he said he's like in the best mental headspace that he has ever been in, and that translates to on the field performance. But it didn't the other day. There was a stat that said like I think, excuse me, like he had 5 interceptions in total last year, and he had two in one game, which is just I don't know the fact that they couldn't score against the Saints defense, even though they are good. So I will respect their running defense, but yeah, that secondary, like we said, looked a lot better. They, just didn't give the Aaron Jones wasn't involved, AJ Dillon wasn't involved, Devontae Adams wasn't involved at all either. So it all kind of was a worst case scenario for the Packers, and it just proves again that their run defense is one of the worst in the league. But yeah, that Jameis Winston stat is one for the books. He always manages to have the weirdest stats in the league. So 5 touchdowns off of 20 passing attempts is absolutely insane. And maybe he came to play. He showed up today and proved that he's the QB1 in that system. I think that I was a little bit worried what they were going to do with the receiving core for that Saints team, but guys like Juwan Johnson, guys like Deontay Harris stepped up. Yeah, I mean, even Chris Hogan came through with a touchdown. So weird list of names on there, but they got the job done. They showed that they were ready to go.
Juwan Johnson turned out to be what everyone thought Adam Troutman might be in the preseason.
Yep.
That's what I took away from that game. Jared, we just got some breaking news, and this is devastating to hear. Lions cornerback Jeff
Oh no.
Okudah, the third overall pick in the 2020 draft, ruptured his Achilles during Sunday's loss to the 49ers, per source. Absolutely brutal, man. I mean, this, like, man, there were so many bad injuries yesterday. Like, obviously this Okuda one, and I don't want to take away from Okuda, but like also Jason Verrett got injured. He tore his ACL.
Yep.
Jerry Judy's injury
Yep.
looked bad, but it seems like it's just going to
Yep.
be a high ankle sprain. Thank goodness for that, because I saw that injury and I saw his ankle twist, and I had an injury very similar when I was younger playing baseball. I slid into a base and my ankle turned sideways, and I thought, oh, he's out for the season. He's done for good. Luckily,
Right.
he looks like he'll be fine. There's a lot of bad injuries yesterday, man, and maybe it's always like that week one. It feels like, but like especially yesterday, just a ton of injuries, and sad to hope Okuda gets better soon, because I know he is really talented, and we just haven't been able to see it yet for that Lions team.
Yeah, that's a real bummer. I didn't know that it was that serious for him, but yeah, I guess that's rough. I think that you can also, um, add Raheem Mostert to that list too.
Yeah.
That was unfortunate to see 2 carries for him, and then he was out of the game. Um, but yeah, it's tough, right? Like I mean, that's part of the game. Injuries happen, but the Jerry Judy one stings as well, and Barrett, yeah, it's bad. So I have no words for that. You hate to see anytime that happens, no matter who the team or player is. But yeah, I guess I didn't get to comment on this part, but we knew that whoever the running back was for the 49ers, whoever it was going to be the one that stood out. I did not know that Eli Mitchell was going to be that guy, Josh.
Neither did I, man. I talked all weekend how I remember a specific member asking me, can we play Elijah Mitchell? And I was like, no, he's a special teams guy right now. Like, he'll be our kickoff returner, and that's about it. But man, did he look special. And honestly, it just makes me more scared to target that team when everyone is healthy. We'll see if Sermon is able to come back for this team come Sunday when they do face off against the Eagles. But like, it's just it makes that running back room even more confusing, and continue to be one
Yep.
of the best running back rooms in all of football because of Shanahan's amazing play calling. All right, next, or do you have anything else to talk about for flag on the play? And if not, we're gonna move on.
No, we're all good here.
Let's do it. Let's move on to the next segment. We're going to talk about the Raiders and the Ravens, at least for a little bit. Jared, what are your thoughts on tonight's game? Who do you think ends up winning? Give me your who's going to win first.
Right. So I think that the Ravens still have the advantage here. I know that they have all the injuries for the running back group, but at the end of the day, their offense is just going to be better than the Raiders defense. So I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with this game in terms of betting, but I'm looking into it right now. I think it's more of a stay away from the traditional sports betting side of things, but I'm looking into player props so we can at least talk about some of that stuff with you guys. For me, though, if I had to pick a side, I'm picking the Baltimore Ravens here. Like I said, the defense for the Raiders just did not improve over the course of the offseason. They have some interesting offensive pieces. We'll talk about that. But yeah, I mean, I think that the Ravens also have a stellar defense, even though I know that they don't have Marcus Peters for this game.
Yeah, for sure. We can easily move into our Bet Online segment where we talk a little bit about these Bet Online odds because I want your underdog mentality play to come from here, to come from this game.
Okay.
What are you
All right.
thinking for Baltimore and Las Vegas? I obviously you're not going to choose Las Vegas as an underdog, but if we want to go look at some props, we can. If we want to go look at, we can look at whatever you want here. Just find an underdog for us.
Sure. All right. So, yeah, I mean, obviously, underdog Derek Carr. Man, it's just anytime I have to target him, I get nervous about it. It looks like his prop is pretty respectable at around 275 passing yards. It's kind of tough to come by, especially against this Ravens secondary, which I definitely 100% respect. Uh, outside of, I don't know if they can necessarily match up with Darren Waller, but they're going to do their best to do so, and they should be able to take away the other pieces of this game. So honestly, I don't know if I can get behind the passing yards for him. So let's go and let's try to do. Here's one that I can get behind. I think that if they move the ball enough and maybe get some luck on their side, that we could see a Darren Waller performance tonight. 2+ touchdowns for Darren Waller right now sits at plus 550, so I'll make that my bold underdog call.
Hey, I can get behind it. I've heard of crazier things. You get plus 550 odds for 2+ touchdowns from Darren Waller. So I can certainly get behind the Darren Waller take. I'm going to receiving yards. And I think I'm going over 60 for our boy, Jaron. Brian Edwards. I believe
Ooh.
in him. I think that plus 60 plus odds is juicy. I think you could see 80 plus from this guy today, but you get 60 plus for plus 156 on Bet Online. And yeah,
Yep.
I think those are honestly really good odds for Brian Edwards. Just really quickly, want to talk a little bit about Bet Online. Our sponsor here, BetOnline.ig, is more than just an online betting platform. Their focus on the player approach has built their reputation on offering clients nothing but the best from cutting edge technology, enticing promotions, and the latest sports betting odds. Arguably, their most popular and well known service, which you guys see right in front of us right now, is their sportsbook. Here you will find lines for all major sporting events, including NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, soccer, politics, even table tennis. You can get into props like this, like we have right here. Their prop system is cooler than any other prop system in the injury purely because you get to choose the prop, right? Like you get to choose, do you think this guy's going over 60 yards? Do you think this guy's going over 70 yards? So on and so forth, rather than them giving you, all right, here's the odds or here's the line over under, where do you think it's going to go? You can set the line yourself. So I think their player props are innovative and crazy smart that they have this idea for quick picks player odds. They also, if you do want to bet on the over under segment of it, they have the over unders too. So like you can get both, the best of both worlds, in my opinion. I really love their player props and how they work out. Live betting, which is one of my personal favorites, I used it a ton yesterday, allows you to bet on your favorites quickly and easily and in real time. BetOnline.ag is the absolute best platform for all your sports betting, horse betting, poker, and casino gambling needs, and we are so excited for them to be Roto Radar's exclusive partner for the 2021 NFL season.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
if you took my advice yesterday, I'm coming in hot here.
yeah, go for it.
If you took my advice yesterday, you would have gotten Allen Robinson under 65 receiving yards against Jalen Ramsey. And once again, it panned out 2 years in a row on that one.
Money, baby, money. Yeah, you've had that call straight on for 2 years in a row, and it's absolutely awesome. Bodine asks, "What's Ruggs yards at?" Let's go see for the over under. We have Ruggs yards at 38 and a half. Give me the over all day. Like I know it's a tough
Yeah.
secondary, but like I think Ruggs does take that step forward, and so give me 38 and a half all day. On quick picks, if you want to choose odds for Henry Ruggs, plus 49 plus gets you to even odds or higher. So I honestly like those odds too. What was the Edwards bets again? The Edwards bet, I like Brian Edwards over 60 plus yards, which is at plus 156.
Yep.
Feel pretty juicy on that in all honesty. All right, last segment before we get off of the stream today. It's a little video. I've been liking doing these videos, and this is one where I said, Jared, I want you to be surprised by this video. I don't want to give you any ability to watch the video beforehand. But yeah, watch this video, enjoy this video, and I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's definitely interesting to watch. Here, hold on, moving over, and here we go.
Oh.
The flag is
You're watching again.
Nice catch.
Yeah.
All right. I love it.
And
Wow.
I love that after the fact they go Lion King style and just like hold up the cat. Just
Oh
like,
my goodness.
Absolutely insane. I saw that and I was like, holy shit, don't fall, cat, don't fall. And I know we can definitely we can relate to it a little bit. We're both cat owners, and it was like, oh my, the poor kitty. And then to see them catch it with the American flag, good times for sure.
Holy shit, that was an amazing video. I had no idea that happened.
Yeah, this was at the Miami game when they were facing off against Appalachian State. And I just thought it was so funny. You probably had half of the stadium just completely paying attention to this cat situation. I just didn't know, how did the cat get up there? Like, what happened in regards to the cat being up there? Like, why didn't... I don't know, man. Like, absolutely insane to see that video and everything that entails with it.
That's absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I have no word. I'm gonna have to watch back now because I didn't get the sound on that, but that was insane.
Yeah, you missed, the only thing you missed out on sound-wise was a lot of cheering and a lot of screaming saying, oh no, and then everyone just absolutely going insane once the cat was saved. And then they hold it up Lion King style, and then the cat's like freaking out, and so they let it go. And I don't know where the cat is now, but absolutely insane. All right, we are at the end of the morning after show. It's been a great morning after show. It's been an interesting morning after show, but hey, we're doing it live. You're going to have technical difficulties sometimes. Jared, anything that you want to give your thoughts on before we get out of here, man?
Yeah, no, just thank you again. I'm sorry for the technical difficulties. We do have a FanDuel voucher to give away, so that's going to Bacon23. Congrats, sir, on that FanDuel voucher for the Monday stream.
Yes, for sure. Thank you guys for hanging out. Make sure to come hang out with us later today. The Strong Side stream goes live a little bit later than usual. Jared and I have some company meetings to go to, which is going to make today extra fun and extra exciting. But what time does the Strong Side stream start, Jared?
Yep, it starts at 3 o'clock Eastern and goes till about 4:30 Eastern time today.
Oh, it's going to be a good time for me. On calls all day, then right into the Strong Side, and then MLB, and then it's gonna be a blast. Anyway, guys, we'll catch you tomorrow for the morning after stream. My name is Joshua Reimer, and as always, good morning and good skill.